Hi, welcome back to another Rage Badger Gaming video for our Road to Frosthaven series. Today we're going to be going over the Banner Spear.
The Banner Spear acts as a leader and requires allies to be in very specific positions.
Get behind me!
In very specific positions to pull off some very intricate but powerful non-loss attacks, which is kind of key to her playstyle. Additionally, she has several banners she can place that buffs the entire party nearby.
The Banner Spear has 13 cards, and the first one we're going to talk about is At All Costs.
This card has two very interesting halves. The Initiative 10 is, first of all, amazing. Love to go early. Secondly, the top is Heal 3, all allies. If you are playing with a Necromancer, you will heal all of his minions, and it doesn't list a range, so it's all allies. You have to take 2 damage, sure, but honestly, it depends on how many people you're playing with and how many minions are out. This could really pay off. Also, there's a pip on that, so you can put Bless or Strengthen on it and make all allies blessed or strengthened, and it's not a loss either. So you think, wow, that's a pretty good top half. But the bottom half gives you a free summon that you can control its movement. Sure, it only has 2 move, 1 health, and no attack, but it gives you an experience every time you summon it, and it's a non-loss, and you control the movement. So those critical attacks that I mentioned earlier, if you need an ally in position, move your minion into position. If you need to set off that annoying stun trap to get through the door, send your minion in. If you need to take a really big boss attack, send that minion in. You can summon this as many times as you can long rest, so it could potentially soak up way more damage than any number of other summons. And it's a bottom summon too.
Next, we have Deflecting Maneuver.
Deflecting Maneuver is pretty fun. Initiative 15. She actually has a lot of really good cards in terms of initiative. And what I hate this dead zone between 30 and 60, where you don't really know if you're going to beat the opponents in initiative or not. She has several cards beyond 60 and a lot before 30 initiative, allowing you to really control where you go in the round. Giving that level of control to a kind of tanky character is really great. So this Initiative 15, top notch. But it's just an attack 2. The only difference that separates it between just attack 2 basic and this is all attacks against you this round have disadvantage, which is really great if you compare it with any. First off, her durability, she's got good health, and if you can throw curses into the deck, you might be able to just cause nulls to happen more often. Bottom half's pretty basic and weird, no move, but you can use it for a move too if you ever wanted to. Sometimes you just need it for the Initiative 15. It does give you shield 2 against all ranged attacks that round.
Hey, it's me, the Banner Spear. If you're liking this video, hit subscribe! Next card is Driving Inspiration.
This is one of the elemental empowerments she has. She can't really burn elements, but she can create some. So if you need to help an ally out, she's got that ability. Other than that, attack 2 at range 5. She might be able to reduce her range later. We'll talk about that at the very last card. So the range 5 might actually only be a range 3, but it is a ranged attack 2 that does empower an element. It's okay. I would have preferred a higher attack number, but it is a very long range. The bottom half gives you a Banner of Hope. It's a 4 health banner. These are the things. All the banners are 2 experience and 4 health. They don't move, they don't attack, they do nothing. However, every time something happens within range, something happens. In this case, if an ally activates within range, which is range 2 of the banner, they heal 1. This can potentially drop it in the final room. It'll remove wounds, curses, and start healing everyone up. You could actually make a really strong finish in a particularly tough room.
Next is Regroup.
This is a friend. I think you have to play this with the Necromancer. There's so many of these that buff everything. You can heal your Necromancer, who's going to be taking damage, and then they regenerate. If you haven't played Forgotten Circles, where the regenerate mechanic is introduced, regenerate is basically an opposite of wound. Every time you activate, you heal 1. Anytime you'd suffer damage for any reason, you lose regenerate. So the Necromancer can burn itself out, summon some stuff. They'll be low in health. And then you can heal them up with this, let them take some healing, and then they'll damage themselves inevitably, and you can always recover it back. Initiative 20 makes it nice. Or, if alternatively, if you're between rooms, you could possibly put it on yourself or any number of other people. I think it's a pretty solid top half on Initiative 20. The bottom half's very useful. You don't get to move, but you pick 2 allies within range 3, and they both can move up to 3. Very basic, but There's many scenarios where I think I'd find that to be useful.
And it also has a pip. So
Yeah.
you could improve that.
Imagine blessing 2 allies.
Next is Set for the Charge.
Another good initiative at 21. Mm-hmm. Set for the Charge is pretty strong. I'm not sure I'm hugely fond of the bottom. Move 4, attack 3 on bottom it's fine. I'm not sure.
It's an attack on the bottom.
It's an attack on the bottom with a huge move ahead of time. So you can move 4, attack 3, and then pile another attack on it. It might be good in the last room. The top half I'm way more fond of.
But there are pips.
There are pips, yes. I can see it being useful. I'm still not hugely fond of it. I think it's one of those where if you're in the final room and need to burn it, I can imagine it being used in that situation. The top half is really good if you know that the enemies there are melee enemies coming at you. All you do is play this, and then every enemy who didn't start adjacent, who then ended adjacent, boom, suffer 3 damage. The cool part about that is you will break through shields, and some of those really annoying monsters with shield 3, boom, you can just pop them with this.
I hate it when enemies have shields.
Yeah, so as long as they didn't start adjacent and then end a move adjacent, that's 3 damage, just bam, flat. No flip, they just take it.
Next, we have Javelin.
Hard to complain about. Super basic card, but it's good. Move 5. She's got a little bit of a lack of mobility, so if you need a sprint, she's got it. Otherwise, it's an attack 3 at long range. She can empower wind if other people need it, but it's attack 3, and that might turn into range 2 later. Again, we'll touch that. But it's one of those... That's a solid number for a level 1, and it's got reach.
Next, we have Incendiary Throat.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm that fond of it. What's your take on the top half?
Weak attack. Empowers fire, though. And if they're enemies adjacent, they get wound.
Yeah, but only if the target suffers damage. So if you get unlucky to draw some negative stuff, it may not actually deal damage, and then it doesn't wound at all.
That's true, because it's such a low attack.
Yeah.
If they have shield.
So it does have an enhance on it, but you're enhancing something that I'm not sure. I feel like if you're going to enhance a card, there's other cards that provide similar effects that you could enhance from other classes, like Cragheart's Dirt Tornado, that you can do a multi-wound without even having to worry about it. And it's a multi-wound muddle if you enhance it. So I'm not that fond of this. It's still got decent range and power fire. The bottom half gives you a summon that will wound every time it hits, but it is a lost summon, and it's only got 5 health and 2 moves.
Next is Combined Effort.
All right, here's a top tier card. 32 is on the lesser of the initiatives, but she has so many low initiative cards. If you really need to go early, you've got the potential to. Bottom half is the most basic of things. You move 2, and then 2 allies within 2 can move 2. It's a lot of 2. Yeah, 2. The thing is, though, it's a lot of positional movement, and there are so many scenarios where that kind of thing will situationally change a room. And the top half is one of the best non-loss attacks I've seen. You just need an ally next to him and next to you. That's it. On the left side, the right side, but the target needs to be there. And if you can't do that, you'll just have to stick to a crappy attack 2. But if you can, attack 4 and wound and gain an experience on a nice non-loss level 1. Those are the kind of attacks we see in level 3 and 4 area, which are pretty strong. But it's surprising to see something so strong. Obviously, you need the positional requirement. So that's they're basically saying, we'll give you a good attack, but someone needs to be there. And that's a lot. Almost all of her late initiative attacks are full of these. So if you have an ally in there, you will be stronger than another character. It's really what it pays off like.
This definitely requires party cooperation and communication.
Yeah, and this is where that silly minion you can summon earlier comes into play, because they can just be in that spot. They only have 1 health, though, so you can't expect them to survive the whole rest. But if your party communicates, you've got this.
Next, we have Resolved Courage.
This is one of the 2 attacks where you need an ally behind you.
Get behind me!
Yeah. All right, Harry. So what does it do, though? You sweep in an arc in front of you with attack 3 on all of them, and regardless of whatever you do, you immobilize all of them. Yep. That's, Even attack 3 immobilize is a pretty strong one. But attack 3 in a big arc like that, and you get an experience, I think that's solid. And the bottom half's amazing too. It just buffs your attack that turn. +2 to the entire attack action. It's critical, because if you do have a multi-attack in there, it will give you +2 to all of those attacks.
Next, we have Tip of the Spear.
Yet another one of those where you need an ally behind you. But this time, it's in a driving line, attack 3, and pierce 3, getting through those really annoying shields. Honestly, the funny part is even really high-level fire demons, you can... fire demons level 5 and under, who that are normal, you can probably take this out with a level 1 card. That's how, pierce 3, attack 3 is really strong. And if you can't get in position or just need movement, move 4, hard to complain.
Next, we have Pincer Movement.
Yeah, it's flanking. Traditional D&D flanking, but you get an attack 5 muddle non-loss. Attack 5 on a non-loss melee attack's really strong. Again, positional requirement. They need to be on the other side in there, so you probably need coordination. Worst case scenario, it's a loot on bottom with a 1 movement beforehand, which I think really improves a lot of those loot 1s on bottom. I usually the loot's on top.
Yes, the amount of times that I realize I can't move and loot is so annoying.
So just being able to at least shift 1 hex, you might be able to get where you need to.
Next, we have Rallying Cry.
Yeah, this is the one I thought was the most interesting. Rallying Cry. So, here's something that's super interesting about it. So you need an ally not quite within flanking, but not adjacent to you. So there's 2 ways you can line it up. And then you attack 3 and disarm them. So whatever you do this on, that guy's not attacking their next action, which is great. There's a pip on there, so you can actually target 2 enemies with this, if you can add that. So what your friend over there that's flanking that guy, semi-flanking, they get to disarm and attack another thing with your attack. It's actually really incredible. I think that's one of those that people are going to miss, that pip there will add potentially a second attack on this, which I think is huge. It's multi-disarms. And the bottom half is in a Banner of Strength, which is basically the Necromancer's best friend. I know the Initiative 71's not great, but whatever. You can lob this down at any point. So all it is +1 to an attack each turn. So the thing is, since it doesn't apply to necessary players, just allies, if you have a big multi-attack where you're like, I'm going to attack 4 targets, you only get the +1 to attack to 1. But if you have 3 minions up, all 3 of them get that +1 attack. So this helps people who have minions as opposed to people who can multi-attack. Otherwise, it's just going to add up to, in 2-player mode, if you don't have a summon kind of class, it's going to be, I think, pretty weak. 4-player, I think, it can pay off, but it doesn't move. So whatever you're doing, make sure you're dropping this in an area where you know it will get some very strong effect.
Finally, we have Unbreakable Law.
And it kind of works like that. You and an ally next to each other on either your left or your right. You make a big sweep of 3 hexes and attack 3 on all of them. Regardless of the attack, you get to push them back. That's really, really strong. And the bottom half's really strong. That means it's incredible. I think they learned their lesson with a certain card in Gloomhaven that has a very similar effect on bottom. There is no pip next to that shield, if you're familiar with the card I'm talking about. So you can't buff this permanent shield 1 to permanent shield 2. The other one said -1 to all move actions, making that already slow and late initiative class feel very sluggish. This one, you don't get to worry about this. You can still act early, and it doesn't alter any of your moves. It's great. However, all those ranged attacks that you do, which are only a few, but you drop the range of them by 2. So, if you actually rely very heavily on those maneuvers, which are just melee, this actually doesn't nerf you at all. Just gives you a nice 2 experience and a permanent shield 1. I think this is going to be taken in every build until I see otherwise. Just being able to knock off 1 damage with a very, very small downside, I think, is going to pay off.
That's it for today's video, going over the Banner Spear. Next week, we're going to be going over the Blink Blade. Hit like if you like this video and subscribe, comment below. Thanks for watching.